hurt. They hurt. I hurt and I miss my baby. I miss my baby.
On June 28, 2017, a tragic event shook the small town of Pennsylvania. What initially appeared to be a simple car accident turned out to be a deliberate act of violence that would forever change a family. Bianca Roberson, a bright, young woman with dreams of becoming an FBI forensic agent, was tragically taken from her loved ones in the most senseless way. A split-second decision on a quiet highway turned fatal, her life cut short by an unknown assailant. But this wasn't just an accident. It was murder. Stay with us as we uncover the shocking details behind the crime that left the community in disbelief. And before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an incredible true crime story like this one. That Bianca Roberson was born on October 17, 1998, in Pennsylvania, destined to make her mark on the world. From an early age, she demonstrated an extraordinary blend of intelligence, creativity, and ambition that set her apart. As a student at Bayard Rustin High School in Westchester, she wasn't just a name on the honor roll. She was a standout, a beacon of academic excellence, recognized for her dedication and hard work. A straight-A student, Bianca made the most of her education, thriving in every subject and excelling in her extracurricular activities. Beyond her studies, Bianca was involved in several school organizations that spoke to her character and her desire to make a difference. As a member of the Black Student Union, she was a champion for inclusivity, ensuring her peers felt heard and valued. She also found time to participate in cheerleading, basketball, and music. A gifted musician, Bianca played the flute, violin, clarinet, and guitar. Her talents were as diverse as her interests, and she was always looking for ways to grow and express herself. Bianca's dreams extended far beyond high school. She aspired to major in criminal justice, with the ultimate goal of becoming an FBI forensic agent. Her passion for justice and helping others fueled her desire to work in law enforcement, where she hoped to bring closure to those affected by crime. When she was accepted into Jacksonville University in Florida on a 4-year merit scholarship, it felt like the beginning of a bright new chapter in her life. For Bianca, family was everything. She shared a close bond with her mother, Michelle, and her maternal grandmother, Josephine, both of whom supported her unconditionally. As she prepared to leave for Florida, the sense of excitement and anticipation was palpable. Her family had stood by her through every challenge, and as she looked forward to her new adventure, they were right behind her. On June 28, 2017, Bianca, her mother, and grandmother had spent the day shopping at Walmart in preparation for her move to Florida. After finishing their shopping, the three of them parted ways, with Bianca heading home for the last time before her big move. She had a familiar 10-minute drive ahead of her, one she had taken countless times before. It was supposed to be just another ordinary drive, a simple part of her routine. But it was on this road that her life was tragically cut short. Within moments of Bianca leaving the parking lot, the unthinkable happened. Eyewitnesses who saw the accident called 911, and when first responders arrived, they found Bianca's car off the road. The initial assumption was that she had been involved in a car crash, but further investigation would reveal the shocking truth behind her death. It wasn't an accident at all. It was a crime. The news of Bianca's passing sent shockwaves through her family. Her mother, Michelle, was still grappling with the unimaginable grief of losing her child. Bianca's death was a devastating blow, and her family's world was forever altered. The pain of losing Bianca, especially under such violent circumstances, was a heavy burden no one should have to bear. Bianca's dreams were left unfulfilled. The girl who had worked so hard to carve out a future for herself, to make her family proud, was gone, and her family was left with the crushing weight of their loss, one they would never fully recover from. On June 28, 2017, Bianca Roberson spent the day with her mother, Michelle, and her grandmother, Josephine, at Walmart, gathering the last few items for her move to Florida. It was a busy day, filled with excitement and anticipation for the new chapter of her life. Bianca was about to embark on a journey that many young adults look forward to, the freedom of college life, a fresh start, and the chance to follow her dreams. After their shopping trip, the three of them parted ways in a parking lot. Bianca, eager to get home and wrap up the last details before leaving for college, got into her 2009 Chevy Malibu. It was a familiar route, one she had driven countless times before. The 10-minute drive home should have been nothing more than a routine trip, a simple, safe drive down a road she knew well. But that day, fate had other plans. Just moments after leaving the parking lot, eyewitnesses on the road began calling 911. They had witnessed a car crash, and within minutes, emergency responders were on the scene. Bianca's car had veered off the road, leaving investigators with a difficult task ahead. Upon arrival, they discovered Bianca with severe head injuries. Tragically, she was pronounced dead at the scene AT-first. It seemed like an accident. A young woman on a routine drive had lost control of her vehicle, causing it to crash. But as the investigation progressed, the truth began to reveal itself. What looked like a tragic accident was, in fact, something far more deliberate. Bianca's life, full of promise and potential, was tragically taken away in an instant as the first responders arrived at the scene of Bianca Roberson's crash. The initial assumption was that her death was a tragic accident. The car had veered off the road, and the injuries suggested a loss of control. However, as police began their investigation, a crucial detail began to emerge that would completely change the course of the case. Eyewitnesses who had witnessed the crash reported something that would soon turn everything on its head. One of the key witnesses described seeing a red pickup truck driving alongside Bianca's car just before the crash. According to the witness, the two vehicles seemed to be in some form of confrontation, jockeying for position as the road narrowed. But what was most disturbing was a claim that the red pickup truck had collided with Bianca's vehicle, sending her car off the road. Even more alarming was that the driver of the pickup truck had not stopped to help. Instead, they fled the scene, leaving Bianca to die on the side of the highway. Back at home, Bianca's family was completely unaware of the tragedy that had unfolded just moments before. Her grandmother, Josephine, had been driving through the area, caught in traffic, and unknowingly passed the scene of the crash. She had no idea that the traffic delay was caused by her own granddaughter's fatal accident. Bianca's mother, Michelle, was also unaware as she continued with her day, unable to fathom that her daughter's life had been cut short as the police started piecing together the eyewitness accounts and looking for any evidence that could lead them to the driver of the red pickup truck. It became clear that Bianca's death wasn't just a tragic accident. It was a crime, and the search for the person responsible was about to begin. The investigation took a shocking turn when the autopsy results came back. What had initially appeared to be a tragic car accident was revealed to be something far more sinister. Forensic experts determined that Bianca's cause of death wasn't from the crash itself, but from a gunshot wound to the head. The revelation stunned everyone. What they believed to be a random, unfortunate accident was, in fact, a deliberate act of violence. The news sent waves of disbelief through Bianca's family. Michelle, Bianca's mother, was utterly devastated. She had already been reeling from the loss of her daughter, but now she was confronted with a horrifying reality that Bianca had been shot. The pain of losing her child was unimaginable, but now the circumstances surrounding her death seemed even more senseless. Why would anyone harm Bianca? Who would want to take her life, especially in such a brutal way? Bianca's family struggled to process the shocking truth. They had known Bianca as a kind-hearted young woman with a bright future, someone who had never been in any serious conflict. She was friendly with everyone, always willing to help, always thinking of others. The idea that someone would target her was unfathomable. Her family couldn't comprehend how anyone could have wanted to hurt her, let alone kill her. This revelation changed everything. Bianca's death was no longer just a tragedy. It was a crime that needed justice. The search for answers had taken on new urgency, and her family was left grappling with the harsh reality that their loved one had been taken not by an accident, but by the violence of a stranger. As the investigation into Bianca Roberson's death deepened, all eyes turned to the red pickup truck described by eyewitnesses. The collision between Bianca's car and the truck was now the key to solving the case, but the question remained: who was behind the wheel of that truck? The police were determined to find answers. The first step was to gather every piece of footage and witness account available. Detectives scoured local surveillance cameras, looking for any sign of the red pickup truck. They collected footage from nearby stores, including the Walmart where Bianca and her family had been earlier that day, hoping it might reveal more about the truck's movements. However, The footage was grainy and unclear, offering little more than a vague image of a vehicle moving along the road. Despite their best efforts, the police were left with only the most basic details: a red truck, possibly a Ford, and a driver who appeared to be involved in the confrontation that led to Bianca's tragic death. Witness reports were also carefully analyzed. A few individuals had described the truck as being aggressive, trying to force its way ahead of Bianca's car in the narrowing lanes. But even with these descriptions, there was still no way to definitively identify the truck's driver. The police needed more. Something concrete, something that could connect the suspect to the crime. But with so little evidence, they were at a standstill. Realizing they were running out of leads, the authorities made a public appeal. They turned to the community, asking anyone who might have seen something, no matter how small, to come forward. They released a description of the truck and its possible route, hoping that someone had witnessed the truck in the moments before or after the crash. It was a long shot, but it was their best hope. They offer a reward for information that could help identify the driver, hoping the promise of money would encourage someone to speak up. The appeal to the public was broadcast on the news, and local media outlets picked up the story, spreading the word across Pennsylvania. The police were now relying on the community to help them fill in the gaps. Every lead was critical, and they knew the public could be the key to finding the person responsible for Bianca's death. As the investigation continued, it became clear that the search for the red pickup truck wasn't just a hunt for a vehicle. It was a hunt for justice. Whoever had taken Bianca's life, driving away from the scene without remorse, needed to be found. The pressure was mounting, not just for detectives, but for Bianca's family as well. They were desperate for answers, and as the days passed, the urgency to find the driver grew stronger. 2 days after Bianca Roberson's tragic death, a breakthrough finally came. A woman, who had been driving along the same route as Bianca, contacted the police with a vital piece of information. She explained that she had seen the red pickup truck shortly after the collision. She recalled how the truck had overtaken her, then stopped at an intersection before turning left onto another road. It wasn't much, but it was the first solid lead the police had received in days. The witness's account narrowed the search area, helping investigators focus on the streets near that intersection where the truck had turned. This new information was a game changer. With a clearer idea of where to look, the police started a search for additional surveillance footage that could help them pinpoint the truck's identity. Investigators knew that getting a clearer view of the truck's make, model, or any unique features was critical. They found more CCTV footage from nearby locations that showed the truck in better quality. The new footage revealed more than the earlier grainy images. It showed the red pickup truck driving along the road, not long after Bianca's car had been reported off the highway. While the footage still didn't reveal a clear license plate, it did highlight important details about the truck itself. The truck was identifiable by its distinctive features: a sticker on the right side window, a noticeable dent on the passenger door, and damage to the hood. These marks were like a fingerprint on the vehicle, and now the investigators had something concrete to work with. They knew that these characteristics could make the difference in identifying the driver, and the evidence was starting to point them in the right direction. The breakthrough didn't end with the footage. Police also appealed to the public once more, asking anyone who might have seen a red pickup truck with similar damage or characteristics to come forward. The investigators now had something they could build on: solid evidence of the truck's presence in the area at the time of the crash. The pieces were slowly starting to come together, and as each day passed, the hope of finding the person responsible grew stronger. With the suspect sketch now a possibility, detectives were confident that they were one step closer to bringing justice to Bianca's grieving family. The truck, its distinctive features, and the valuable witness testimony had set the investigation on a clearer path, but the most crucial part was still to come: identifying the driver behind the wheel. The breakthrough came to a head when, just days after the new footage was discovered, a lawyer reached out to the police. The lawyer stated that his client, David Desper, wished to turn himself in regarding the incident that led to Bianca Roberson's death. Desper, the man behind the wheel of the red pickup truck, had seen the mounting media coverage and the police's public plea for information. His conscience, it seemed, had finally caught up with him. David Desper admitted to being involved in the confrontation with Bianca on the road, confessing that the two had exchanged positions on the highway just before the fatal incident. Desper explained that, during the altercation, he had become enraged and, in a moment of rage, pulled out a gun and shot Bianca in the head. After realizing the devastating consequences of his actions, Desper fled the scene, leaving Bianca to die and driving away with no regard for what he had just done. With his confession in hand, police moved quickly. Desper's truck matched the description provided by eyewitnesses in the CCTV footage, complete with the distinctive damage to the hood and a sticker on the window. Investigators obtained a warrant to search his residence. Inside, they found the murder weapon, a gun, hidden at his home, further linking him to Bianca's tragic death. David Desper was arrested and taken into custody, charged with the murder of Bianca Roberson. The police have found the person responsible for the brutal act, but the true motive for such senseless violence remained unclear. Desper had turned himself in, but the search for answers regarding why he decided to end Bianca's life in such a cold, deliberate manner was far from over. David Desper's trial began in 2018, a year after the tragic death of Bianca Roberson. The courtroom was filled with a sense of anticipation and sorrow as Bianca's family and friends gathered to seek justice for the young woman whose life had been stolen from her in such a violent and senseless way. As the trial progressed, the emotional toll on Bianca's family became painfully evident. Parents, Michelle and Rodney Robertson, each took the stand to describe the unimaginable pain of losing their daughter. They spoke about Bianca's bright future, her love for her family, and her dreams of becoming a forensic agent with the FBI. Michelle, in particular, was still reeling from the loss of Bianca, her second child taken away. The grief was raw and unrelenting. "I don't even know who I am right now. I am just existing," Michelle told the court, her voice breaking as she relived the heartache. Rodney, too, struggled to express the depth of his pain. "All I have left of Bianca is my memories," he said, the weight of his words hanging heavy in the air. Their emotional testimonies painted a picture of a family devastated beyond words, struggling to find meaning in a tragedy that made no sense as the trial progressed. David Desper pleaded guilty to third-degree murder. His plea was not one of remorse or explanation for his actions, but an acknowledgement of guilt. Desper's defense team argued that he had acted in the heat of the moment, driven by anger. He expressed no real justification for his crime, only that he had made an irreversible mistake. Still, the prosecutors painted a picture of a man who had let his rage guide him to take the life of a promising young woman who had done nothing wrong. When it came time for sentencing, the courtroom was filled with tension. Bianca's family sat quietly, awaiting the judge's decision. Judge Marie Wheatcraft presided over the case with a heavy heart, clearly moved by the testimony she had heard. She addressed Desper directly, acknowledging the gravity of the crime he had committed. "I don't believe you were afraid," Judge Wheatcraft said, her voice thick with emotion. "I believe it was anger that drove you to do this." The judge sentenced Desper to 40 years in prison for third-degree murder, with the possibility of parole after 20 years. While the sentence could not bring Bianca back or ease the pain of her family, it was a small measure of justice in an otherwise unjust situation. The words of the judge, as emotional as they were, reflected the outrage and sorrow that had permeated the entire case. Bianca's family would never see their daughter again, but at least they knew that Desper would spend a decade behind bars, paying for the crime he committed as the sentencing ended. The Robertson family was left to continue their grieving process, knowing that no amount of punishment could undo the heartache they would carry for the rest of their lives. The case had drawn to a close, but for them, the loss of Bianca would never truly end. The emotional weight of the trial and its outcome would stay with them, just as the memory of Bianca's bright future would forever remain in their hearts. Bianca Roberson's death left an indelible mark on everyone who knew her, her family, her friends, and the entire community. The loss of a young life, full of potential and dreams, is a tragedy that is felt deeply. Her family, still reeling from their grief, has been forced to navigate a world without her, trying to move forward while carrying the weight of their loss. The pain of losing Bianca, a bright, loving, and determined young woman, will forever remain a part of them. David Desper's attempt to appeal his sentence was denied, and while it was a small step toward justice, it did little to alleviate the heartache Bianca's family continues to endure. The legal battle may be over, but the emotional toll of Bianca's death will last a lifetime for those who loved her. As we reflect on Bianca's story, it serves as a reminder of the importance of justice, not just for Bianca, but for all victims of senseless violence. Justice may bring some measure closure, but it cannot erase the pain or bring back the loved ones lost. Bianca's family will continue to grieve, but they also hold on to the memories of their beautiful daughter and the hope that her story will inspire others to act with kindness, respect, and compassion. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more compelling true crime cases. Thank you for watching.